Well, hello out there in True Country. If you were tuning in to the Marc McMain show, you were going to be disappointed because we've got a new brand here, as you heard. It's going to be Tuesdays and 12 with Trolley Bob going forward. Chastity, at least I get to stop lying to the public. Every time I have to follow up that intro with Marc McMain, I'm like, yeah, not so much today on Tuesday. Yeah,
Charlie did a great job.
Yeah.
And did you see her putting it all together so quick?
I didn't see the magic.
She's amazing.
Shout out to Charlie Morgan for a great job on that. New handle with the show, Tuesdays at 12 with Trolley Bob. There was a lot of debate in my household. You know, my wife asking me, listen, do you really want to be known as Trolley Bob? And I'm like, pretty sure that ship has sailed. I went to vote in the primaries recently, and when I walked in the door, the woman behind, hey, Trolley Bob's here to vote. Yeah, so I figured I might as well own it and go with it.
I like it.
Of course, our intro there, Bob Seger's Against the Wind, my favorite artist, anthem of my life there. So great job to Charlie. So welcome to the show, and we've got a really great topic today, a really important topic, if you will. We're going to talk about a great opportunity that's coming up, both for people who are looking for jobs, maybe looking to enter the workforce, looking to change jobs, maybe looking for a job that, just to replace something, and also for people who are out there looking for good employees. And man, I hear that more than anything, right? I mean, we had Cody Anderson in here, the coach of the Morgan County basketball team, and he was talking about, how an employer came up and said, hey, I got one of your players that's working for me, and he's just so amazing. He shows up on time. And Cody was thinking, man, those are table stake, like stuff that used to be the bare minimum now is the high bar that we're shooting
He's
for.
such a great example. And bringing in his ring, hard work. So Cody was a great guest, Bob.
So I always like to lead into our topic with kind of an intro here. And as I was thinking about this topic, I was thinking about a movie from back in 1993 called Dave. Okay. And so this movie, the protagonist or the hero in the movie is a guy who looks like, he's a lookalike, like the president of the United States. He's played by Kevin Kline. And when the movie opens, he's an impersonator, like he's doing kids' birthday parties and car dealership openings and stuff like that. Well, they bring him to Washington, D.C. so that he can be a double for the president. And they're going to use him as for public appearances and stuff and be seen so they can free up the president's time. As it turns out in this case, so he can have a series of affairs. It turns out the president's not a very, very good guy. But the lookalike, the double played by Kevin Kline he's this small town guy, lovable. I couldn't find the right word, not simpleton, but maybe naive, and he runs this little temp placement agency in his hometown. And the minute they put him in the job, he's like immediately overwhelmed. He does whatever he's told. There's some funny screw ups and near misses, where he almost reveals himself and doesn't act like the president. But then the president has a stroke and is completely incapacitated. And the antagonist in the movie, the chief of staff, cooks up a scheme where this impersonator, impersonator now becomes an impersonator, and he starts to play the role of the president. And at first, Kevin Kline, the hero, goes along with it, and then he starts to feel it, right? And it all kind of comes to a head. You find out that he's a really good guy. He's got a lot of common sense, and he generally wants what's best for people. Meanwhile, the president's chief of staff, this guy Bob Alexander, played by Frank Langella, he's just trying to use him as a puppet and further his agenda. And it comes to a head when they visit a homeless shelter for children, and Kevin Kline, the hero, is deeply touched by this. And then, unbeknownst to him, the chief of staff cuts the budget to the shelter. And so when he finds out about this, he brings in this friend of his who's a CPA. And they go through, and in a really great scene, they just have this common sense cabinet meeting where through common sense cuts and financial management, they find the money to refund the homeless shelter. And the guy who's playing the chief of staff loses it. And, so now Dave, the guy who's the president, the fake president, fires him. And so he fires the chief of staff that brought him in, but the chief of staff can't do anything about it because everybody thinks he's the president. Well, where I'm going with all this is when he makes the announcement that he has let the chief of staff go, he gives this speech. And he's in front of the White House press room, and he's talking about, what he's going to do, is why he and Bob Alexander have gone separate ways. And he says, here's what he says. He goes on stage and he says, we've got so many problems that we don't know where to start, basically. He's like, me and Bob Alexander, he thinks everything's fine and we should just go forward as business as usual. But he doesn't feel that way. And here's what he says. He says, things aren't fine. There are so many problems we don't even want to look at them anymore. They just blend together. They become a great big noise, and we can't even hear each other think. And the worst part of it is we feel like we can't do anything about it. Sound familiar, Chastity? I mean, little
Sure.
current events
Right.
in that, right? So then he goes on. He's like, we don't know where to start, but I have an idea of where to start. He says, I'm going to make it the responsibility of this government to find a job for every American who wants one. And when he says this, the room breaks into laughter. The press corps is now laughing at him. Like, it's such a preposterous notion that a president would have, such a goal. Guess we forgot about Franklin Delano Roosevelt there for a minute, right? But then he goes into this great little speech about it. And here's what he says. Have you ever seen the look on someone? Now, remember, he ran a temp agency, right? Okay. So he's placing people. Ever seen the look on someone's face the day they finally get a job? I've had some experience with this. They look like they can fly. And it's not about the paycheck. It's about looking in the mirror and knowing you've done something valuable with your day. And if one person can start feeling that way, and then another person, then all these other problems might not seem so impossible. You don't really know how much you can do until you stand up and decide to try.
Sure.
So I thought that was such a great point, because I think for people who are out of work or unhappy in their work, this principle really applies, right? There's a famous saying, people attribute it to Confucius, although it's not really in his writings. Choose a job you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life.
That's right.
My father, among my father's secrets of life that he gave me was find something you love to do and get someone to pay you for it. He was a little bit more. But what I learned, whether you're looking for your first job, whether you're between jobs, whether you're in a job you don't like or let alone you don't even like the job, let alone you don't love it, you can't have the attitude that those kinds of jobs, that people who love their work, that's what other people get. You can't have the attitude that that's not something attainable to you. And like the president in that movie said, the first step is to stand up and try to get it for yourself. Go find that job that you love. And here's why that's important. Let's look at the numbers of life. Let's take a 50-hour work week, okay?
Sure.
And I think realistically, start with an 8-hour work day, factor in the time you spend getting ready and getting home from work, off hours, work that you have to do, commuting. I think that's a conservative estimate that people work 50 hours a week, especially if you count the time at your home spending thinking about work, right, and that sort of thing. So 30% of your week, right, that's 30% of your week, okay, or 42% of the 5 days that make up your work week. But now consider you spend 33% of your time sleeping. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So out of 168 hours in a 7-day week, that becomes 113 hours. So now we're up to 44% of your life you're spending working. And if you boil that down to those 5 days a week that you're working, that 120 hours, you're awake for 80. That means 63% of every 5 days of your life is centered around your work. Not family, not fun, not things you want to be doing, but your work.
63%. That's a big number.
Right. So how you feel about something that comes close to or equals more than half of your time that you spend awake is certainly going to impact our mindset. How happy we are, how much we're at peace, our confidence, our self-esteem, our self-worth. And that translates into other things like our diet, our exercise, how much we drink. People get into drugs, activities, health, right? Our relationships, the kind of mother or father we are, the kind of son or daughter we are, the kind of brother, sister, friend, all those things. It comes down to how you could look at life. It can really drive your entire outlook, whether or not you become a person that stirs the pot clockwise or stirs the pot counterclockwise, right? Well, somewhere out there listening to us today is someone who feels like they can't find a job. And someone out there is somebody listening to us who, for whatever reason, they know the job they're in is not right for them. And somewhere out there is somebody ready to take the next step or move in a new direction, or that someone who is always looking for that next step and their next opportunity for growth. And maybe there's even somebody out there listening to us right now that doesn't even know what they want or that they need a new job, or don't even realize that they can have more in their work life. Well, if you're one of those someones, or if you're someone who would love to hire one of those someones, this is the show for you. This is True Country 92.3. You're listening to Real Talk on Tuesdays at 12 with Trolley Bob Fuhr, your host here. And we're about to bring in two great guests that are going to be talking about a fantastic upcoming event. With us today, we've got Merritt Ainslie, who is with Morgan County Charter Schools and their work-based learning programs. And Merritt's going to help us learn about this upcoming event, the Regional Career Hiring Event. And then also with us is Sarah Phillips. She's the HR director over at Morgan Medical Center. And she's going to chime in here to kind of help job seekers interested in attending the event that you can go and make the most of it. So if you're out there listening, folks, and you're looking for a job, or you want a different job, or you just want to take the next step in your career, it's time to tune in and listen to what we have to say. Merritt, Sarah, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob, for having us.
So we always kick off by getting to know our guests. Sarah, ladies first, as always. Tell us about yourself and your role as the Human Resources Director at Morgan Medical Center.
Well, again, my name is Sarah Phillips, and I'm the HR Director at Morgan Medical Center. I have been with the facility since 2008, so I have seen a lot of great changes, a lot of great additions. We are very grateful to be in our new facility that we moved into in 2018, and there's only bigger and better things coming from there.
And I got to assume one of the biggest employers in the county, I would assume,
I
right?
think we're like the third or fourth.
Yeah, I
yes.
got to assume you're in the top there.
Correct.
So, and Merritt, I've gotten to know you pretty well over the past couple of years since we plopped into town through the work with the Flex program. You helped me meet my mechanic, Addison Hillsman, who should be Addison. I hope you're out there working on that trolley right now. I hope you're underneath the hood if you're listening. But Merritt, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role with Morgan County's work-based learning programs.
Thanks again, Bob, for having me on. This is my 11th year as the work-based learning coordinator at Morgan County High School. We're a college and career academy. I've been employed with the school system for a little over 15 years, and my work-based learning program partners with local business and industry in and around the community of Morgan County and the regional partnerships we build, and place interns and apprentices, and the students actually get high school elective credit through my program, and they leave school to go and work on those internships and apprenticeships. And it's a great opportunity for those students to get out and explore things that they think they want to do. They're working on pathway courses within the school system. They think they want to do it, and it's a win-win whether they enjoy the work or figure out they want to continue in that work, because they may or may not be spending money in college in the future based on whether they enjoy it or don't enjoy it. So it's a great opportunity for students to explore those opportunities in the community.
So, Chastity, I'm not going to get into this too much right now because we're going to have two future shows. We're going to have Merritt back to talk about the Flex program, and then also Jennifer Butler to talk about the Career Academy over there. But, I was just watching Mike Rowe just last night talking about the fallacy that is, we'll get into the whole details in another show, but long story short, GI Bill, federal funding, and all of a sudden, after World War II, now everybody's got to go to college. And there is a huge crisis. One of the things that Mike Rowe cited in the interview was for every 5 trade jobs that are retiring and leaving the workforce, only 2 are being replaced. Wow. And so these governors, politicians, corporate leaders are in panic about finding, these skills. And, history, big for me, right? And so when we do our tour, we talk about Madison's educational history. Educational opportunities tended to follow money, and Madison was very wealthy right from the beginning. And so by 1815, just 6 years after the city was founded, they'd already formed their first academy. And it's kind of cool because we start the tour talking about that first academy. And toward the end of the tour, as we're coming down College Avenue, we talk about how Morgan County continues to make Madison a leader in education with this work-based learning. And yeah, you can graduate well prepared for college with an AP degree. You can also walk out into the workforce as an emergency medical technician, nurse, I'll get some of these wrong, but welder, plumber, electrician with the skills ready to be hired in the workforce. Really an exceptional program.
That's amazing.
So we'll talk more about that on a future show. When we come back from a commercial break, we're going to talk about this fantastic regional career hiring event coming up. While we're off at commercial, I want to encourage you to listen to the commercials, but at the same time, grab yourself a pen and paper because you might be hearing some things you want to jot down. We'll be right back. And welcome back, True Country. You're listening to Real Talk on Tuesdays at 12 with Trolley Bob. I'm Bob Fuhr, your host. And with me today is Merritt Ainslie from Morgan County Schools Work-Based Learning Programs and Sarah Phillips, the HR Director from Morgan Medical Center. And we're about to get into all there is to know about the big upcoming regional hiring event that takes place September 9th. 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So write that down, September 9th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's going to be held at the Morgan County Recreational Community Center, and you'll find that just across the bypass there at 1811 Old Buckhead Road in Madison. So, Merritt, let's start with the basics. What is the regional career hiring event? I've already kind of told people when it is and what it is. We'll remind them throughout the show, but let's talk about what it is.
Thank you, Bob. I'm going to repeat a little bit of what you just said. The Morgan County Regional Career Hiring Fair will be held Wednesday, September 9th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if you're out there listening and you have your pencil and paper, if you have your notes page on your phone, jot those times down. It's at the Morgan County Recreation Department Community Center, a brand new facility, a beautiful facility on Old Buckhead Road. It's 1811 Old Buckhead Road in Madison. And at Morgan County Charter Schools, we believe that a strong workforce helps build a strong community. Through our commitment to workforce development, we're partnering with the Educated and Working Strategy Team and Morgan County Family Connection to bring employers and job seekers together in one location there at the community center. One thing I really want people to understand is that this isn't just a Morgan County event. We're calling it a regional career hiring fair because we're reaching into Morgan, Oconee, Walton, Newton, Jasper, Greene, and Putnam counties. This is not just solely for Morgan County, so we want all those partners out there. If you're a job seeker or an employer looking to hire people that pivot in careers or starting new careers or unemployed or graduates of college, to come out and enjoy the event.
Now, so what he's basically saying is if you are within the sound of our voice, this event is for you. If you're looking for a new job, a career change, or just maybe to find out what's out there. You know, maybe you're not necessarily unhappy in your job. Maybe, things are okay, but you know it's not what you're going to be doing in 20 years, and you just want to kind of know what's out there, which kind of leads me into my next question, because when I think about this, the first thing that comes to mind is the job fairs that people attend, right? Like a job fair. And usually what that is you go there and you learn about different careers. Hey, you can do this or you can do that. This isn't that, right? This is different than a job fair. Tell us how this is different than that kind of typical job fair.
The biggest difference is that we're trying to connect people with employers that have a real hiring need. I host a career expo every spring for high school students where employers come in, and it's an exploration activity for students to see what is in Morgan County, what's in the surrounding areas. This is something that you could actually be interviewed for, have follow-on conversations about, and potentially be hired on the spot. We're encouraging employers to come prepared to talk about their current and upcoming openings. We're also encouraging job seekers to bring multiple copies of their resume, dress professionally according to the job you desire to apply for, and be ready to have a conversation with an employer. There's a real possibility that someone walks in on September 9th, meets the right employer, interviews, or begins that process and leaves with their next career opportunity. That's really the goal, put employers who need people in the same room with people who need opportunities.
And so that's the real difference, right? Job fairs are you're learning about jobs, right? This is an opportunity to not only learn about a job, but a job that's hiring and maybe even get hired on the spot. And let me interject here because I meant to mention it earlier. So maybe you're not somebody who's looking for a job. Maybe you're not somebody who is in between jobs. Maybe you're not currently hiring. I bet you know someone who is. I bet you know a family or a friend or a family friend's, someone, there's a connection, or maybe somebody that you network with in your business world. So help us get this word out to help put that smile on the face of people. Sarah, let me bring you in on this. Why is a career event like this, not your typical job fair? Why is something like this so attractive to an employer? Obviously, as the Director of Human Resources, right, that's constantly part of your mission is finding good talent. Why is this so valuable and helpful to an employer?
The best part about this career fair is that it is a regional career fair, and the participation in a regional career fair provides the organization, the employer, with an opportunity to expand its recruiting reach, maybe into an area that they would not have normally gotten into. They'll able to strengthen their employer brand and develop a pipeline of qualified candidates. Rather than just relying on just your basic, I post a position, see who applies, in that traditional job posting sense, the event does allow us to engage directly with the potential employees. Like Merritt said, somebody may walk in, may meet the perfect employer, walk away with a job, that sort of thing. It's an educational institution. You're going to get exposure to that and other workforce partners. The career fair does also give the applicant the opportunity to get a feel for the organization. You get to meet them. You get to see what they're talking about and get that exposure. They get to ask specific questions about the organization, and it gives the company a better idea of who their target audience is, who is coming to this career fair, who is from the surrounding areas. A career fair is also a proactive approach and can help reduce vacancies, improve recruitment outcomes, and truly support the long-term workforce needs of the workforce and our region. So it's a great thing.
It's really the more I hear about it, the more I think this is a great idea. And I was telling the story. I won't say what it was, but I was in a local business just yesterday, and I overheard a conversation between two people, and one of them was a younger person, probably a couple of years out of high school, and I didn't quite hear what they were talking about, but I could tell they were talking about work. And the very last thing the guy said was, and that's why I need to find a better job, And I just, there was such emotion in it when he said it. You know what I mean? Like you could tell that it was just occupying. And so I immediately walked over to him and I said, hey, I got something for you. And I showed him the information that Merritt had put together. And by the way, we'll have that information. You'll hear me talk about it throughout the show. We'll have it on the radio's website. We'll have it on the Madison Trolley page. We'll get it out to what's happening in Morgan County. We're doing our best. But if you see it, please share it. Let's get the word out there. Everybody do a part. But there was just, when I showed it to him and told him this was going on, the only word that I could use to describe his reaction was hope. Wow, here's something I can do. Here's a move that I can make, rather than just standing here, I can actually get out there and do that. You're listening to True Country 92.3. It is Tuesdays at 12 with Trolley Bob Chastity. I was just about to say the Marc McMain show. So now not only do I have to unlearn real country, I have to unlearn the Marc McMain show.
That's right.
You're listening to WMOQ 92.3 FM on your dial. We're talking with Merritt Ainslie of Morgan County Schools Work-Based Learning Programs, Sarah Phillips, Director of Human Resources at Morgan Medical Center, and we're talking about the fantastic regional career hiring event. I'm going to give it to you again. It takes place September 9th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's at the Morgan County Recreational Department Community Center, 1811 Old Buckhead Road in Madison, and that's where you can go to find out more about that. So let's go back to the employers where Sarah was telling why it's an attractive. Who's going to be there, Merritt? What kind of job? What kind of employers? Let's start with that can people expect to find there?
Bob, we've already got a really good mix, and we're continuing to recruit employers. Some of the organizations that have registered or indicated participation include Nesbitt Repair, Mannington Mills, Bulldog Steel, Morgan Medical Center, the Morgan County School System Transportation Department. They're always looking for bus drivers and maintenance technicians. HCSG Environmental Services, Farmview Markets, Great Estates Landscaping, Contract Packaging, Georgia Safari, Conservation Park, Prime Property Services, Bank of Madison, and Express Employment Professionals. And just to notify the listeners out there, we've had this up for about 2 or 3 days, and all of these employers that I just mentioned have registered as within 48 hours. So it's been a great turnout or response so far. What I like about this list that I mentioned just a while ago is the variety. We're not targeting one type of worker. We've got employers looking at entry-level employees, skilled trades, professionals, internships, apprenticeship opportunities, and we still have about a month before the event. So we're hoping that list continues to grow from about the 12 or 13 that I listed into as many as 35 or 45 employers.
And it's funny that as you explain all those, talk about a range, right? So everything from a safari park to HVAC to pretty much, to school bus drivers, and can confirm, shout out to my friends, Alicia Lord and the folks over at the Morgan County Schools Transportation Department. Part-time school bus driver for them. They helped me get my CDL to drive the trolley. And
nice.
if you like to drive big things and like kids, it's a great environment. It's really kind of fun to get out there. Yeah, I enjoy it. I wish I could do it more for them. So shout out to everybody over there at the bus barn at Morgan County. But I feel like I want to back off a little bit my distinction between the job fair and this career hiring event, because yes, this is different than a job fair, because if you're looking for work, if you are unemployed, if you're between jobs, if you're looking for your first job, if you're not happy with the job you're in, this is a place to go and actually find out about real jobs that are available and get hired. But you know what? I just occurred to me as you were talking, I didn't know, let's put it this way. It wasn't part of my plan when I was a senior graduating from college. You know what I want to be someday is a trolley driver. You know what I mean? My career kind of happened through, I'd like to say I created opportunities for myself,
right.
but I was also blessed with a lot of opportunities to take advantage of. And so you might be finding the opportunity or the path or the thing that you're interested out there that you don't even know about
That's
by
right.
attending
I
this
agree.
event. Like, man, I never even considered the fact that I could make a few extra bucks as a school bus driver, and that would fit into my schedule perfectly, you know, in terms of after dropping the kids off at school, or, you know, yeah, I do want to earn a skill or that sort of thing. Just so many opportunities for people to go there, whether you're employed or not employed, to get a chance there. So real quick, Merritt, if I'm an employer listening right now, so because every time I've posted about this or talked about this, I get responses coming back, whoa, how do I get involved? We need people. If you're an employer listening right now, how do you get involved and signed up for this? And we'll come back to it later, but let's throw it out there now.
So we're still accepting employers through the registration process. Like I mentioned 48 hours ago, we listed this. So for the next 30 days, you can sign up. That's one of the main messages I wanted to get out today is if you're an employer anywhere in our region, the counties that touch Morgan County and within Morgan County, and you're currently hiring or you anticipate needing employees in the near future, we'd love to have you participate. Employer registration is completely free. Each participating employer receives a table and 2 chairs, and they're welcome to bring banners, displays, applications, promotional materials, or anything else that helps showcase their organization and available opportunities. Employer check-in and setup will be from 8 to 8:45 that morning of September 9th, and we'll also have a hospitality area with refreshments and lunch for our participating employers. But specifically to answer your question, there's several ways for employers to sign up. We have a bit.ly registration link and a QR code on our event flyer, and we've posted the flyer on Facebook through, this is where you'll want to write this down. So if you want to like or friend me on Facebook, I have a Work-Based Learning at Morgan County High School Facebook page. I'm going to say that one more time. Work-Based Learning at Morgan County High School Facebook page. And it's been shared 5 or 6 times through our school system and through different community organizations. We've also been reaching out directly to businesses. I've emailed my contacts I have a list of the 20 largest employers in Morgan County, and I've sent them an email with information about the event and how they can register. We want to make sure all of our major employers know about this opportunity and have the chance to participate. We're also getting the information out through the community. Flyers have been distributed through the Morgan County Ministers Union with Pastor Robert Terrell. You know, a lot of folks in Morgan County and the surrounding areas and in the South in general attend a church service on Sundays, and what better way to get that information out than through their pastors at their church. We're trying to cast a large net through that. They're posted at the Morgan County Community Food Pantry. That's Sherry Terrell heads that up, and they every Saturday at 920 Pearl Street, they meet and distribute food and necessities to community members, so she also has that information. The Pack and Ship store at 1512 L Eatonton Road near Goodwill, that's the FedEx and UPS package store where you mail off your packages. They have flyers as well with the QR codes listed. Also, Morgan County Foothills at the Morgan County High School Freshman Academy, we have flyers up there as well. A lot of those students work during the day and attend school at night, so it's a good opportunity for them to see different opportunities. And lastly, we've contacted the Morgan County Citizen, and hopefully Lake Oconee News will post it as well. I've reached out to both of those newspapers to put out the information and the ways they can register, whether you're a job seeker or an employer.
So we're just going to do, and we're going to be talking about it on the show every week. We're going to have you guys back on to talk about it right before the event, and we're going to be talking about it on the show every week, just kind of reminding people. We're going to have the flyers. If you're on the town square, you see our little kiosk there. We're going to put both the flyers for employers and job seekers on our kiosk door, so you can scan it there. You'll find we're going to put it on our Madison Trolley page, which, by the way, we are 3 followers short of 1,500. So we've got a milestone. So if there's 3 people out there that want to help us get to 1,500 on our page, but we'll put it there. We'll get it on the radio station page and really get it out there. So you are listening to Tuesdays at 12 with Trolley Bob. Bob Fuhr here, your host, with some real talk on True Country 92.3. Chastity, we've got some sponsors who want to see if our listeners are candidates for what they offer in their businesses. So we'll be right back after a few commercial messages. All right, welcome back, True Country. You are listening to Tuesdays at 12 with Trolley Bob here on Q92.3 FM. Bob Fuhr, your host. We're going to get back to our conversation with Merritt Ainslie of Morgan County Schools Work-Based Learning Programs and Sarah Phillips, the Director of Human Resources at Morgan Medical Center. And the subject of our conversation today is the Regional Career Hiring Event taking place on September 9th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., Morgan County Recreational Department Community Center. That's 1811 Old Buckhead Road in Madison, just over the bypass there toward the ball fields. And we're going to shift our focus to making the most of the event and getting yourself hired if that's what you're after. So, Merritt, we've talked about the employers who are going to be there. What are some of the open positions that you've seen, and what can job seekers expect to find and learn more about in terms of jobs that might be available?
It's a pretty broad range already, Bob. Employers have identified positions or areas such as plumbing, school bus drivers, cooks, grocery clerks and managers, landscaping, manufacture and maintenance, security, animal care, guest services, and janitorial positions and construction positions, welders, forklift operators, machine operators, packers, maintenance technicians, and administrative support. So whether somebody has years of experience and a skilled trade or simply looking for an opportunity to get their foot in the door, I think there's going to be something worth exploring. And people all the time up their credentials or pivot and get a credential from TCC, from a community college or a technical college. And if you're ever pivoting or looking or have a increased credential, this is for you.
And the other thing I noticed in the notes too was like internships and apprenticeships, right? So maybe you're looking to learn, another opportunity there. So what do I need to know? I'm listening right now. You had me at hello, guys. I want to attend this. I want to do this. If I'm a job seeker or simply someone interested in learning more about potential positions, what do I need to know to be prepared for this event?
Well, first you need to register for the event. If you don't register as a job seeker, that doesn't mean you can't come. We just are trying to get an idea of who potentially could come. We would love for our employers to register just so we can have all the proper logistics and the tables and the chairs and the booths set up for you. Like we've mentioned a couple of times already, we've got a QR code and registration information that we're sharing through social media and throughout the community. Job seekers aren't required to register, like I mentioned. We just use the registration to gauge how many we can expect. Job seekers can walk up without registering, so I want to make that pretty clear. If you can't find the QR code, if you can't find the link, if you are unsure about how to register, you don't have to register to attend. Then I would tell them to prepare like they're going to an interview, because they may have an opportunity. Bring multiple copies of your resume if you have them, dress professionally according to the job that you are applying for, and be ready to introduce yourself and talk about your skills and experiences and what you're looking for. But I also don't want somebody to say, I don't have a resume, or I'm not prepared for an interview, so I'm not going. Come anyway. We're actually going to have a business center on site specifically to help job seekers. We'll have people available to assist with resume building and interview preparation, along with printer capabilities, so job seekers can print resumes and any other material they may need to meet with employers that day. We really want to remove as many barriers as possible. If someone needs a little help getting prepared, we'll help them get prepared and when they get there. The most important thing is simply just showing up. Get in the room and talk face-to-face with employers who are looking for employees. Our message is pretty simple. Your next career opportunity could be waiting for you on September 9th, so don't let any barriers hinder you from attending, whether it be resume or anything like that.
So Chastity, how awesome is that? I mean, you guys have just removed all the barriers, and you know what? I'll say what probably the excuses, right? Like, there's no reason. And look, looking for a job can be hard, man.
Sure.
You can get ghosted by companies. It's constant rejection. There's all kinds of there's a million reasons to get discouraged when it comes to looking for a work. And if you're already in a job, there's so much inertia not to change, right? The fear of change and all that sort of thing. But man, Merritt, you said it. The first step is just showing up. And what I heard there, Chastity, is I can show up without a resume, without interview. Like, I'm just showing up, and I can get someone to help me put together a quick resume, get it printed out so I have it to hand out, maybe get some tips on interviewing, and be ready to go. Chastity, you got something?
It sounds like Merritt's just saying, come confident, and who knows, you might leave with a brand new job.
Or leave with a new resume. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, you literally have nothing to lose
Yes.
here.
I love that.
And everything to
It's
gain.
amazing.
So Sarah, let's get to you a little bit. Let's kind of help the people out there that are thinking, yeah, you had us. By the way, you're listening to True Country 92.3, Tuesdays at 12 with Bob Fuhr here, Trolley Bob, and we are talking about the upcoming career hiring event. So Sarah, let's bring this to you. Let's start with resumes, right? So what guidance would you give people? Like, I remember when I used to look at resumes, right? So I in the early part of my career, I did a lot of hiring. And if I got a resume, I mean, I'd get 100 of them, and it was a quick scan. And I would divide them into 3 piles, A, B, and C. The A pile was when I scanned that resume, something jumped out at me that caught my interest or looked really positive. The C pile was when I scanned that resume, something jumped out at me that was a negative or that made me say, right off the bat, I can see there's not a fit here. And then the B file didn't meet either one, right? And I would go through the A's, and then when I exhausted the A's, then I'd get around to the B's. So what advice would you give to someone who wants their resume to land in that A pile?
Sure. And everybody has their own very specific opinions about resumes. Should it just be 1 page? Should it be 2 pages? But basically, for a basic good resume it's always going to have a good, strong professional summary of who you are. That's the first thing that you want the person who is looking at that resume to know. Who are you? what type of position do you want, what have you accomplished, and why should they keep reading? And that is going to help you kind of format your resume from your summary to your job experience, your examples of experience, what skills, and if you are specifically looking at an organization that's going to be at the career fair, you can tailor your resume specifically for an organization. You don't necessarily have to do that, but a lot of people do that. That would include, for example, if you're pursuing something in manufacturing, have version of a resume that includes examples of what skills you have, what have you done. Include safety. Are you forklift certified? Add those certifications. It's the same thing if you're going to pursue something in customer service or working with the public, that sort of thing. Have a version emphasizing your people skills or working on a team, or maybe you took a class with a previous employer and you can add that. But basically, that's what you're going to have to do, and it's just point by point by point. So therefore, the person who is looking at your resume understands who you are, has a good, clear version of that, and can see and is welcoming you into what they're looking for. If you are specifically looking for a job and you've seen a job ad, you can redundantly use the same words that they have used in their job ad. If somebody's looking for critical thinking skills, or if they are looking for people skills, you can add those kind of examples or work experience in your resume, so you kind of mirror back to them what they are looking for. And you can say, well, obviously these are the things that I do have, and these are the things you're looking for. It's a great fit. Let's move forward. But one of the most important things that I would like to make sure that people understand is proofread your resume. I cannot tell you how many resumes I have received for not just entry level, but high level jobs that they've used a wrong word, or they've misspelled a word, or they've misskipped a word.
The bullets are out of whack.
Yes, it's like, why is this not obvious to you? It's very obvious to me. But of course, in HR, we look through and we see tons of resumes every day. But that's the golden rule. Proofread. Be concise in your explanation of who you are, what you're looking for. Be confident about what you're putting on your resume, and then just be open to talking about whatever someone picks out of your resume if you're going to talk to them at the career fair. Just be open to talking about your experiences, relate it back to what they're looking for, and like I said, everybody has their own opinions of what resumes need to look like, but the basics and what pulls you in is what's going to make you successful.
So you made some really great points there that I want to reiterate. And the first one was the phrase, and hear this, people, want to keep reading, right? Remember what I said as the hiring manager,
Yep.
A, B, and C. You got on the A pile because you said something that made me want to keep
So
reading.
mirror
Right.
back what they want is what you've got.
Perfect example. I'll call out Nesbitt Repair because I happened to just sit with them the other day, and they have a big neighborhood thing where they give back to the neighborhood, right? So if I'm submitting a resume to them, I'm putting something about my interest and my background in community service, right? Something to keep reading. Your point about proofreading, I will tell you as a hiring manager that if there was an error on your resume, I took that as a direct indication of the quality of work and attention to detail that I could expect to you in the role. And
Yes.
so that's important.
Yes.
And I would say, now this is where it gets into the opinion, right? Everybody, there's a million opinions about resumes. For me, you got to get, unless you are in your, if you're 30 years, 20 years into your career, then maybe. But if you're for this type of event, we're more likely, maybe you're newer in the event. If you can't tell me who you are in one page, and remember, this event is different because it's not like you're mailing in a resume. You're going to hand a resume to somebody, and then maybe you get a chance to talk to them.
It's going to be a back and forth dialogue.
This is probably a one-pager, and the best advice that I would give you about resumes based on my experience as a hiring manager is don't try to be more than you are. Don't try to be something that you're not.
Yeah.
Be real about it. You're listening to Trolley Tuesday. No, what the heck is the name of the show? Tuesdays at 12 with Trolley Bob. Bob Fuhr here, your host on True Country 92.3. We're talking about the upcoming Morgan County regional hiring event. I've been trying not to say Morgan County because it's truly a regional hiring event. It's happening in Morgan County, but it's bringing everybody in from around the area. Takes place September 9th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Morgan County Recreation Department Community Center. That's at 1811 Old Buckhead Road. We're going to let our sponsors share their resumes with you in the form of a few commercial messages, and then we'll be right back. And welcome back, True Country. You're listening to some real talk here on Tuesdays at 12 with Trolley Bob. Bob Fuhr, your host. Here on Q92.3, we're talking with Merritt Ainslie from the Work-Based Learning Programs at Morgan County High School and Sarah Phillips, the HR Director from Morgan County Medical Center, and we are talking about this upcoming career hiring event. So, Sarah, my 30-year career started in the 80s, right? I worked in and mostly around New York City. And for listeners who saw the movie, in my early career, I was Bud Fox, right? I wore a full suit and tie every day, complete with suspenders, cufflinks, tie tack, the whole 9 yards. I even carried an old school briefcase. Wasn't long before the tie went away. The suit became a sports coat and slacks. After that, the jacket went away. That got replaced by a golf shirt and khakis, even jeans sometimes. Until finally, unless I was speaking in front of a group or an audience, I would be down to golf shirt and that sort of thing. But, there's nothing wrong with being casual in the workplace. It's less expensive. It's more comfortable. It's more practical. I think people are more productive in that way. But there's also a note, and so sometimes when I work with clients, I felt like being more casual made me more reliable, even more trustworthy, more relatable, rather, not reliable, but more trustworthy. But when I was with clients or workshop participants, it also had to do with my credibility. And so I always wanted to dress one notch above everybody else in the room. Now, this event's a little bit different. We're going to have people coming straight from their jobs, maybe, and that sort of thing. But in general, what advice would you give to people about how they should dress for job interviews? And by the way, not just a job interview, but if you're just stopping by to drop off your resume, you don't know that the person you're handing your resume isn't the person who's going to be interviewing you later. What are you seeing in the world of dress and how people should consider their dress if they're job seekers?
Well, my career advice is to dress as professional as possible. There's nothing wrong with a pair of black slacks, a pair of navy slacks, a top. For men, it might be a little easier. You say khakis and a polo, that sort of thing. if they are coming into the career fair and they're coming from their job dressed in a pair of work pants and a work outfit, that's fine, that's expected. We have nurses at the hospital who interview in scrubs. It's just part of their natural. They may have come from their job and they're interviewing. But for me, it is to put your best foot forward. It's the same thing as during an interview. When you're speaking, you're making that eye contact, you're putting your best foot forward. It's the same thing with your dress. It's your best foot forward. That is not the time to be as casual as you can possibly be. Jeans and a t-shirt is not necessarily, if you're going in for a specific interview, may not be what you need to be wearing. So I would just say dress as professionally as you can. Of course, if somebody is interviewing, they're coming from a job, they're on their lunch break, whatever, that is understandable. But I would say be as professional as possible.
You only get one chance to
Yes,
make a first
impression.
as the saying goes.
Yes.
So, in the first part of my career, I was hiring all the time. And then I went about 20 years where I was just advising on hires. But it wasn't until the very end of my career when I started doing some interim chief revenue officer roles that I became personally responsible for evaluating candidates. And the big difference between the start of my career and the end of my career hiring was going and checking people's social media, right? I went to Facebook and I'm like, okay, before I hire this person or recommend hiring this person, I want to see what their presence is online. Let's talk a little bit about that. What should potential job seekers be thinking about in terms of what they post and what's happening in Morgan County?
100% you should assume that the employer is going to look at your social media. Just assume they will. And so what my recommendation is that you try not to be, you stay away from online arguments, those kind of things, whether you make your social media private so only certain people can see your social media, that's also a recommendation. But what I would say is an organization who is hiring you is also knows that you are going to be representing them, whether that is out in the community or whether that is with face-to-face with a customer. And I would always 100% assume that the employer is probably going to look at your social media presence at some point.
One of my favorite expressions that I've heard said is that when you're on a first date with somebody or in a job interview with somebody, you're not meeting them, you're meeting their representative.
Yeah.
Right? But when I go to your Facebook page, that's when I get to meet you and see what's really like. It was a shocking experience for me because I had never done it in my career before. And then here I'm like, wow, what a resource this would have been to really get to know a person. Because it's so hard to get to know a person in that interview process.
Yeah.
And my interview processes were exhaustive. I had a great hiring record because I would put people through months worth of interviews because I think there's nothing worse than a bad hire for the employer or the employee,
yes.
for sure. So Merritt, let's come back to you. I'm going to just throw this out there as we wrap up the show today. If somebody walked up to you and said, hey, what is this thing I'm hearing about this regional career hiring event? In a couple bullet points or one or two sentences, how would you answer that question?
Bob, to summarize the whole event, it is a regional hiring event. It's not just Morgan County, Madison, Georgia. It's every county that surrounds Morgan County. We often get the term that Madison's a bedroom community. There's a lot of people living here that travel outside of the community to go to work. It's for those people who may be looking to come back closer to town. It is a true regional hiring event, and we've partnered with all the communities around Morgan County to make that so. And we hope to increase participation every year with those communities and counties around us. We're trying to put employers with real hiring needs face-to-face with adults who are looking for a job. It's not a career fair. It's not a come and get and grab candy out of the candy jar and just see what's out there. You should come with the expectation that these employers are looking to hire. They do have needs for skilled labor or any sort of professional apprenticeship, internship, the whole gamut's in play. Looking for a better opportunity or a career change. Our goal is real simple. It's to connect people who need opportunities with employers who need people.
And Sarah, I'm going to put it your way. If you're an employer thinking about getting involved in this, why do you see an event like this as being something an employer should get involved in?
For me, it would be, or for an employer, it would be, it is a regional event. You're not just focusing on Morgan County, you are focusing on the region, the outside region, and it's just a great opportunity to meet a good section of people who are going to be coming to the event, getting that exposure, and you never know, we all know that networking is a good thing, networking is a great thing, and so you never know where something may lead. And I think the opportunity for an employer to make a great hire, that's always a good thing.
And on the flip side, for a potential, Shasta, you want to chime in here? Oh, that was, sometimes Chastity raises her hand. Sometimes she says, talk for 4 more minutes. And that was a talk for 4 more minutes. So, Sarah, what about on the job seeker side? What would you tell them?
I would just say for them to go into the career fair with an open mind to learn about the companies that will be there. Be prepared to talk about yourself and ask questions about what it takes to get hired at a company that you are interested in. Be prepared for questions that maybe the employer might ask you. You know, their favorite things is to ask you about examples. Tell me about a time. So kind of have that in the back of your mind. The companies are there to meet you and are looking to hire. And again, just like we talked about with your resume or or the way you're dressing, put your best foot forward.
So as I'm sitting here preparing for this interview and then looking at my notes and such like that, what comes across to me was the word unique opportunity. What a unique opportunity this is. Like, what normally happens? Well, you got to find out if there's a job, or you got to find out where to send your resume to, right? And then you send your resume in, or you stop by and you fill out an application, right? And then maybe you do or do not get called back, and get feedback, whatever. Like, it's overwhelming. I will tell you, it's just the thought of looking for a job can be overwhelming. This is such a low investment, high reward opportunity for both employers and employees, right? Because you, as a job seeker, you get to walk up with your resume. Or, let's take it back. You don't have a resume. You get to have someone help you
And have a one-on-one conversation.
Create or upgrade your resume. Then walk down the aisle and hand that resume to somebody. Have them look at it and say, let's sit down and talk. When does that happen? Like, you've created something here, Merritt, that just does not happen in the world. And as you guys were talking, I just started jotting down adjectives and outcomes that come to mind that you might get. A resume, feedback, interview practice, knowledge, connections, awareness. There's just so much to be had here. So let's recap. It is the Regional Career Hiring Event. It's sponsored, or I guess put on, by the Morgan County Charter Schools Work-Based Learning Programs. It is taking place September 9th from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m., and it's happening at the Morgan County Recreation Department Community Center, which can be found at 1811 Old Buckhead Road, across 441 there in Madison. Such a great point about it being a regional event. I just had dinner a couple nights ago up in Monroe, and the woman behind the counter serving me lived in Madison. So maybe here's a chance for you to come home. So listen, okay, you've got the information, folks. We've given you all the details. Merritt, Sarah, thanks so much for being here. Chastity, thanks as always for keeping the trains running on time. Big thank you to Charlie Morgan for the cool intro, and the new brand here on Trolley Tuesdays at 12 with Trolley Bob. Bob Fuhr is your host. Thanks to everyone listening out there today. I'll be back next Tuesday. Until then, folks, keep your talk real and your country true.